All right, thanks so much for being here. I'm going to just set this up very quickly. Axon, who is an Arizona-based company, it started in Tucson in a garage, actually, and it was known as Taser for a long time. That was their first product in personal defense and law enforcement. The company is called Axon. It's a $40 billion company, and they wanted their world headquarters to be here because the person that founded this company wanted to stay in Arizona and said, we are not leaving unless they push us out. And there was a movement to try to push them out, which failed. And so there was a law passed at the state legislature. They were allowed to build their world headquarters, but trying, this is my opinion on this, trying to be good neighbors in Scottsdale, in good faith, wanted to sit down with the city of Scottsdale and negotiate something that both sides could be happy about. Those negotiations broke down. And so they've walked away from the table. To find out more details, we're talking with the Axon president, Josh Isner. Josh, thanks for doing this.
Of course. Great to see you. Let me see if I can center myself in the screen here. There we go.
Did I set that up right?
You did. Thanks very much. Yeah, it's been a long, strange journey, but we are where we are here. And the bottom line is we're excited to get our project going. We wish we were doing that, in a tighter partnership with the city with a deal in place, but unfortunately we couldn't get there, and as a result, we're gonna keep doing what we're doing here and focus on what's next. Getting our campus off the ground.
I want to read a statement. I know you've seen it, but for the listeners, I want them to hear it. This is a statement from the mayor, Mayor Borowski. I appreciate Axon's efforts to come to the table and engage in meaningful dialogue regarding the future of their development. Their team was willing to make concessions to their existing plan, which I appreciate. Unfortunately, there are too many hurdles to overcome in order to move an agreement forward successfully. I remain hopeful that future negotiations result in a win-win agreement that works for the community and keeps this vital employer right where it belongs in Scottsdale. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, the mayor was great throughout this project. She did her best to get there, and she came to the table in good faith. She represented, a very reasonable position very well. The challenge is when you're going to work every day with three people, who are motivated. Like there were some tapes that leaked this week from the vice mayor that show that there are people on this council trying to put the mayor in jail, literally. And I wouldn't want to be in an environment like that if I were the mayor, frankly. And at the end of the day, it's a lot to ask of the mayor to sign up to just be politically and mercilessly attacked over what they will use as a political win in this case. And so when that's the case, it's really hard to get a deal done in that environment. And frankly, I sympathize with the mayor. She's doing her best to do right by the people who elected her. And unfortunately, there are a few people on this council who refuse to recognize the fact that this mayor was elected by a Democratic majority in Scottsdale.
Is there any room for negotiation moving forward, or have you turned the page on that, and are you moving forward with your project and let the legal challenges begin?
Yeah, we're not super concerned about the legal challenges. I think that'll work itself out, and I think we're on very solid ground there. So, frankly, that's not really something we're paying a lot of attention to. On kind of next steps or, how we're going to proceed. Look, we still want to do right by our neighbors. There's an HOA next door. We're still going to, figure out how we can make this, as painless of a process for them as we can, which, we talked about in our zoning agreement with the city to begin with. And we still are motivated to do some of that work. But at the end of the day, some of the things around density and so forth, I think the ship has sailed on that. And we're just going to start from first principles on, hey, what do we need for our employees? What do we need to make this work over the long term? And just make the decisions that we think benefit, the company and us, our customers, the most.
Are you going back to the original plan with numbers of apartments, or will there be some kind of adjustment, but not as severe as the ones you were willing to do when you were negotiating with the city?
Yeah, I do think there'll be some adjustment. I don't think the plan was ever to build 1,900 apartments. That's what's been reported, but I think we are going to want to build some condominiums as part of that are a little higher end, that are nicer, that are more spacious, which in turn will bring the apartment number down. And so we haven't exactly decided what that is yet, but it definitely won't be the 850 that were discussed in this negotiation. That frankly was a painful one for us to give up, but that's how willing we were to find a deal with the city to just progress as partners. And because the city couldn't get there, we're going to go back to like, hey, what's the number we actually think we need? And that number is probably in the 1,200-1,300 apartment range would be my guess.
What is the timeline now? Breaking ground to completion. What's the expectation?
Sure. We hope to be able to break ground in the coming 6 months to a year. We're still working through the exact site design we want. We still have to go back. It's been such a long process that we have to go back and bid all of this out again from our builder because, the quotes they gave us last year and the year before, every time we thought we were going to get going, obviously the pricing's changed with inflation and so forth. So we still have a few things to check off the list on our end before we get a shovel in the ground, but it's, we're full steam ahead on that process.
And I'm just curious. I know that it wasn't an option in your mind to move out of Scottsdale and go somewhere else, although some other states were making massive concessions to bring you there. Was there ever a discussion of another city in Arizona that wanted to work with you where you would be in Arizona, just not Scottsdale?
We entertained all the options on that, and it's a great question. I think the reality is, our current headquarters is right next door to this site. All of our employees in Arizona have built their lives around a commute to Scottsdale, and some live west of the city, some live east of it. And so to move somewhere else in Arizona would be pretty disruptive. It would almost be the same thing as moving somewhere else. I think a lot of our employees would relocate closer to work if we moved, somewhere else within Arizona anyway. And so, we made a commitment that we were going to do our best to stay in Scottsdale, and through the work of the state legislature, in a bipartisan coalition and in the governor and, the governor's office, like, they were graceful enough to look at this issue for all companies of our size and all kind of zoning opportunities into the future, and said, hey, this is just a good business practice of the state. So we certainly, want to be good partners in making sure that, when our elected officials their doors are open, we want to make sure we reciprocate.
Well, Josh, I appreciate the time. I wish you guys the best. I'm glad this is moving forward, and hopefully you get something done sooner rather than later. And the next time we talk, we're talking about completion.
I love that, and thank you for all your support in the process. Really appreciate it. I know you've had Rick on a couple times, our founder and CEO, and I really appreciate it. And thank you. And if you need anything from us, don't hesitate to ask. So I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. That is Josh Isner. He's the president of Axon, talking a little bit about the negotiations and how they broke down with the city of Scottsdale.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.